We are live on the Bleav in Monsters podcast for another week. Joe Gaither, Chris Krogman, and Lucas Berry for another episode of Chicago Bears Talk. We got into it with a guest who joined us from the Carolina Panthers. You'll be able to hear a great interview from Desmond. Excuse me. What was it? From
Desmond Johnson.
Thank you very much. I was all prepared for the first beginning. Yes, Desmond Johnson from Bleav in Panthers podcast. Join us in the episode. You'll be able to hear that when the episode is produced. We tonight are going to have a fun discussion. Hopefully so. Lucas Berry and Chris Krogman are going to fight on the show about something. What I don't know what I'm going to goad them into something though. But we'll figure something out later in the show. But tonight we're also going to talk about Hard Knocks. We skipped that last week because of time. Big thanks to Raul Bennington joining us last week. If you missed Raul on the show, you need to check out last week's episode. It was a lot of fun. Thank you so much, Lucas. How's the evening going? Thanks so much for setting up our friend.
Yeah, no, of course it was a little last minute. We were trying to get some new guests on to see what other teams are thinking. And, we had Stephen Burton on before from the Colts. So today we had Desmond here to talk about the Panthers. And you can hear our interview later in the show. But Desmond will give you his thoughts on what the Panthers will do with their pick and if they are a candidate to move up to 1. Stay tuned for that. Otherwise, I'm doing well. We had a interesting weekend of football. The NFC game was a massive disappointment. I really wanted to see a game of the year type game, but the 49ers going on QB5, that was not going to happen. And then the Chiefs and Bengals was pretty solid with some controversy. But now our Super Bowl is set, and I'm excited for that. Chris, how you doing, man?
Lucas, I am doing all right, a little under the weather, but that's all right. We play through pain here on the Bleav in Monsters podcast.
You're like Mahomes.
Yeah, bum ankle, bum voice, bum chest, whatever. We're here to perform. I'm hearing I'm seeing a lot of complaints about the referees in the AFC Championship game, and not being a fan of either team, I didn't really see it, which is just fascinating to me because, like, whenever you're
rigged,
whenever you're in it, either as a fan or monetarily, you are very much hypersensitive to any referee's calls. Whether they go for you or against you.
It's actually funny Joe said that because on the sideline there was you just saw Zach Taylor on point after one of the flags. He just said the words, "It's rigged."
That's
ridiculous. Well, you can literally just trending on Twitter.
Yeah, he's just like, "It's rigged."
Wow, that's incredible.
It's not like the Bengals had like 3 possessions when it was still 20-20 before the Chiefs.
Or Burrow threw 2 horrible turnovers too.
Right. So, I mean, Burrow and his team had chances to take the lead. And, you can argue whether some penalties went against them, this, that, and the other, and penalties went for the Chiefs on some possessions. But, it comes down to making plays. And at the end of the day, Mahomes and Kelsey, them cheat codes. Can we get one of those? What I thought we were supposed to have one of those. Didn't you promise me one of those, Chris Krogman?
A cheat code?
No, a Travis Kelsey.
No. I gave you Kyle. I'll give you Kyle Rudolph.
What about Cole Kmet?
I told you he was Kyle Rudolph, man, and he gave you exactly what we said he would.
You're right.
So I can't be too disappointed. The NFC Championship game, I didn't think even with Brock Purdy, it was gonna get done for San Francisco. The Eagles just look destined this season.
Fly, Eagles, fly.
And which, do you guys think if Trey Lance had played this entire season with the Niners, that they would have been in a better spot to win this? I mean, they would have been in a better spot to win this game, but I guess which quarterback that did get hurt throughout the year probably gave the Niners the best chance between Lance or Jimmy G or
Jimmy G.
Yeah,
I think if they had Jimmy G, that game's really close. That's probably game of the year if they have Jimmy G.
I agree.
yeah.
I mean, that game got out of hand quick on that first drive when the Eagles went for it on 4th and 3 and the catch that wasn't a catch and he didn't challenge. Like, the Niners would have took over at the 35 there.
Right.
The Eagles 35. I mean, that changed the complete outcome of the game immediately.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
So how far away are our Chicago Bears from being in that game?
we beat the Niners. We beat one of the teams in there.
You're right.
And we probably played the Eagles closer than anyone besides Washington has all year. So
25-20 in a loss. You're right. You're right. So can we take some moral victories? We almost were. We were almost in that NFC Championship game.
It's actually fun. I mean, watching those games, I'm sure you guys can attest, is just like the Bears are nowhere even close to these teams.
Of course.
Like, skill level, like in the trenches, you're just like, oh my God, they need new everything.
Well, that's the thing. The Eagles, I mean, yes, you look at their skill positions and you see Jalen Hurts, MVP season, and you see the wide receivers, but their offensive line is incredible. And their offensive line is getting pushed on every single running play. And yes, I mean, they've got to maneuver to protect Jalen Hurts from time to time, but like their offensive line is so strong. And you flip it on the other side of the ball, their defensive line is rolling guys off the sidelines. There's just like, oh, he's good. Oh, he's a player. Oh, he's good. Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, Hassan Riddick, like all these players, just players on players on players makes that front seven go. And you think about the Bears front seven, and you're like, oh, a team, a team's running the football at us, and they're getting 5 yards a pop because our front seven sucks ass. So it's just, and you think about our offensive line, it's just like, oh, we're begging them to not get Justin Fields killed.
Are you saying Armani Watts is not Fletcher Cox worthy?
No, he's not. That's exactly what I'm saying.
I don't know about that.
The Super Bowl is the two top teams in sacks this year, so and the Eagles have about 20 more than the Chiefs, which is absolutely absurd.
Yeah, they almost broke the sack record.
The Bears don't have that, do they?
I don't think so. The record's like 70, I think.
I thought it was like 74. I could have swore the Bears possibly had it. I don't know. Anyway, I guess the another takeaway from this weekend is that the Bears' new brain trust were both poached from these two teams. So, I mean, maybe that's something to look forward to. You got Ryan Poles from the Chiefs.
The single sack record that still stands today is 72 by the Chicago Bears.
I knew it.
In the 1984 season.
I knew it.
The Eagles had 70 this season.
And they played an extra game, them damn cheaters. Anyway, the Bears have Ryan Poles and Ian Cunningham, both of which were poached from teams playing in the Super Bowl. So maybe that's something we can look forward to while other teams are having fun in the Super Bowl.
I'm going to have fun watching the Super Bowl.
Do either of you have a preference for who's going to win? From a Bears perspective?
Shouldn't even ask me that.
Yeah, well, Luke has family ties to Philly, and so you're probably pulling against the Eagles for that reason.
Oh yeah, absolutely,
and that makes perfect sense. But Krogman, do you have any reason to cheer for one team over the other?
No.
I just want a good game, mostly.
Yeah, we should get a good game.
I think you will.
This game's interesting. I think the Eagles on paper are much better than the Chiefs, but Mahomes is just absurd, and Andy Reid is just absurd. So I think that equalizes a lot of what the Eagles do better.
Did you already play the 2.5 for the Eagles?
I
think it's interesting, like the dynamic of weapons versus quarterback now, because Hurts has a lot more weapons than Mahomes does. And Mahomes is a better quarterback and basically just has one one massive weapon and a bunch of. I'll tell you, Jerick McKinnon is terrible. That guy's not a good football player. Like when Pacheco had to go out, I think after his long run where he looked like he might have got a concussion and McKinnon was the back. It was ugly.
And Kadarius Toney is so electric, but he's like glass.
Now that you say that, Chris, he's going to be the Super Bowl MVP. Jerick McKinney's going to turn into Damian Williams.
They're not going to give it to anybody other than Mahomes or Kelsey, no matter what it is, because you remember it should have been to Damian Williams, but they didn't give it to him.
So did you guys hear the most recent Mahomes news? I'm sure we're sick of hearing about this by now. Obviously, the Bears took Trubisky over Mahomes, but
they did.
I don't buy this.
Mahomes' dad supposedly went on the radio and said that the Bears had told Patrick Mahomes or strongly implied that they were going to draft him, and Mahomes was stoked to be a Bear and be the first quarterback drafted, only to have his heart broken being picked by the Chiefs at 10, not being the first quarterback drafted. And apparently this is what
Bears told him this. I don't buy it.
This is what fueled the spite of his hand counting at Soldier Field.
I don't buy it.
You said fueled the what?
Remember when he counted to 10 on his fingers at Soldier
Yeah.
Field? Apparently his dad said that he's not a spiteful person, but he didn't like how that one felt. Supposedly. I don't know why his dad would make this up.
That's ridiculous.
Well, it's been 6 years or some ridiculous.
Yeah,
why now? Like, why is it coming out now? Like, shouldn't this story have dropped like forever ago?
Was this the first time he had played in Soldier Field? I mean, I know they had done
I don't know why they
preseason
had
there.
him. I don't know why they had him on the radio. I have no idea.
Well, shoot, if Patrick Mahomes' dad calls, you put him on the air. That's why.
Wasn't he a former New York Met?
Doesn't matter if he calls any station. I'm putting him on my air.
Yeah, isn't that the jersey that Mahomes wears?
I believe so. Do you remember him ever playing for the Mets, Chris?
No.
Meet the Mets. Greet the Mets.
Well,
I thought he was
Kansas City Royal, wasn't he?
I thought he was a Twin.
he probably played for a lot of teams then. Yeah, he played for the Mets, the Rangers, the Cubs, the Pirates.
Yeah,
the
that's
Red
why
Sox.
he wears that. That's why he wears that 23 Mets jersey. His dad was 23 on the Mets.
And he also played for the Yokohama Bay Stars.
Oh, I remember them. Yeah.
That's right.
World Series champions. 1978. Who could forget?
Well, anyway, enough about Mahomes talk.
What do you think, Luke, about the Bears on Hard Knocks? Do you want to watch the Bears next year on Hard Knocks?
Yes, I would absolutely love it. I mean,
Why?
I'm just a football junkie, man. I just love it. And to see my team on that show, like, I also want to think that the Bears aren't going to be as disastrous as some of these other teams that go on there, just because I think Eberflus's leadership style will make it more organized and such. But I don't know. I just I eat that stuff. It's like 1920 football drive. Like, I just love watching the videos of training camp. Like, gets you fired up. I mean, there's going to be a lot of storylines too with all the new players. Justin Fields year 3, Eberflus's second year, Ryan Poles. I mean, you'll get to learn a lot about these guys that you don't get to see normally. And they normally have Hallis Hall on lockdown. So,
well, I was just going to ask how the process works, because the PR team probably doesn't want it.
I guess the NFL has a contract with. It's on HBO, right?
Yeah,
right. It's on HBO, and
the criteria are weird. You have to miss the playoffs so many years in a row, and
right.
You have to
not
be on a first-year coach. Yeah, you can't be on a first-year coach. I know that there's several criteria for them. But really, what you remember the year that they were at the Raiders? Essentially, the team gets a lot of say and creative control. It basically gets cut up the night before it goes on. And yet, you remember the year with the Raiders, it was just like a whole big PR thing. And like, I don't want it because every year that I've watched the Hard Knocks, it's just like this fucking team is gonna suck because you can see right through all the coaching bullshit, especially and maybe it's just like the presentation of it, but I don't want our team to be the focus of social media once a week, just being like, oh, look, Matt Eberflus, he doesn't know what he's doing, or whatever the case may be, or whoever we draft with the number 4. Oh, look, Jalen Carter, all he's doing is eating cheeseburgers, some shit like that. Like, I don't know. I don't want the focus because last year with the Lions, it was Dan Campbell. Like dusting off the dirt. He's like, oh, we're this close, guys. We're this close. We just got to dust the dirt off of our pants to get to win. And like they made the whole Aiden.
They did, man. They dusted it off and they beat the Packers.
They did, but when it was too late, it didn't matter. Like, good job. You went 9-8, buddy. Like you missed the playoffs.
Hey, if we went on Hard Knocks and went 9-8, I'd be happy.
I'd be happy if we went 9-8 and didn't go.
Yeah, what is Joe talking about?
I don't want to go 9-8. 9-8 is shitty. I either
You're
want to
right.
be.
You're 3-14 is much better.
It is because at least you're doing something. You're tanking.
If we go 3-14 again, man, I'm just gonna not be a Bears fan anymore.
No, then if you go 3-14 again, you dump Justin Fields' ass to the curb. You take everybody and you say, Matt Eberflus, you're gone. Like,
well, there's only 4 teams.
I want to either
be this year.
I either want to be really good or I want to suck. None of this middle shit. 8-8, 9-9, 9-8, 8-7.
There's got to be a progression, though. You know, it's not like we're going to go from 3-14 to 14-3.
Do you want to hear the criteria for this?
Worst to first. Yes, go ahead.
To qualify for the next edition of Hard Knocks, an NFL team must not have made the postseason for 2 straight seasons. They must have a coach who's in his second year on the job at least, and they haven't participated in the program in a decade. Oh, so there's 4 teams: the Bears, the Saints, the Commanders, and the Jets. Why do I feel like the Jets are always on there? How have they not done this in the past 10 years?
Give it to the Commanders. Let's watch that. The Commanders are a perfect team for Hard Knocks because you know that they're going to suck. They're going to be 7-9, 9-7, and they're going to.
I don't think that.
And they're going to be like Washington's team.
Could you imagine how much? Could you imagine how much viewership they get if the Bears were on this?
Brian Robinson back for another year after a gunshot last season. Look at him run, leading the Commanders' backfield for a second straight year. In his rookie year, Robinson runs through the drills. He is the I mean, it's just going to be that. It's perfect. It's perfect. Terry McLaurin. He doesn't drive in F1.
I can hear the music playing, too.
Exactly.
What do you think, Chris? Do you want to be on the show?
Taylor Heineke. Always trying to prove it.
So, I don't think the Commanders will do it only because of the whole ownership dilemma.
Well, what if they're trying to clean up their PR, like Joe said, or did you say that with the Raiders?
Yeah, but I don't think that's going to happen before next year. The Jets are a good possibility just because of the media market. And who was the other one outside the Bears?
The Saints.
The Saints. What's the story?
Who that?
I don't know.
Who's the coach there?
It's not intriguing.
After Katrina in 2011,
the
Saints have still been looking to rebuild.
I honestly think
it's going to be us, and I'm going to be pissed because we're going to get made fun of.
The Bears have the best story, dude. They do. They really do have the most intriguing storyline.
We absolutely do.
Yeah, at least
I don't want to get made fun of every week.
We're going to get made fun of every week anyway.
Listen, Joe, nothing beats the clip of Eberflus on Hard Knocks saying, "The vacuum cleaner." More of that.
He's going to explain the hits principle on there, and everybody's going to talk about how corny it is.
Oh, yeah.
Poor Joe. So afraid of being made fun of.
No, I just like...
We're used to this.
I think the Bears are such a misunderstood franchise from the outside looking in.
Well, that's why you got to get inside to look out.
That's why you got to listen to the Bleav in Monsters podcast. You can find out the real story for the Bears.
Oh man.
All right, but if they're on it, well, that'll be great for us.
Be great for the show.
Exactly
nonstop content.
The Chicago Bears.
So let's touch on this. We didn't really talk about this last
franchise.
Week. What do you guys think of this whole Cunningham not taking a GM job elsewhere?
He knows we're going to win the Super Bowl.
Supposedly, he was offered the Cardinals job and turned it down.
Fuck the Cardinals job.
My sources tell me that he wanted to stay in Chicago in order to grant us the 2 picks next year, and that's why he didn't take the the
dumpster fire
in Arizona. And he didn't want to work for the Bidwells. Those guys fucking suck. I grew up in Arizona, dude. The Bidwells are garbage.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think GMs, unlike coaches, I mean, you're one and done normally. If you mess up, your tenure as a GM, and if you're sabotaged from the start by taking over a franchise like the Cardinals, that could kiss your career down the drain as a GM. So I think he's being very judicious about the right opportunity and where he wants to go.
Why would you want to tie your career to little Kyler Murray, Mr. Call of Duty man?
Well, that's another thing, man. Like I wouldn't want them barking down my ear to tell me what to do with him. I would probably just can him, try and get rid of him. But if the ownership likes him, who knows? Then you're into
Could you imagine
interviews versus theirs?
They draft Rosen middle of the first round. They suck. They immediately replace him the next year with Murray at the top of the draft.
And they basically let the coach. They let Kingsbury do what he wants.
And then within a few years, they freaking what a dumpster fire, dude! Arizona, that's trash.
That's what I mean, man. I mean, I get why he maybe wouldn't want to hitch his wagon to that, and it just so happens that this is the biggest offseason that we've probably seen in our lifetime for the Bears. So, yay for us for keeping him one more year at least.
Yeah.
So he has to be with the Bears 2 full seasons for them to get draft picks. I mean, I don't know. I have any idea why he would be gone in the middle of the season, or I'm just curious what that means.
Yeah, I think he's pretty locked in. I don't know how he wouldn't get time accumulated this year.
Right.
Because all the GM jobs are filled now. So, plus I think him and Ryan Poles are really good friends, which will be interesting. See how they go to work this offseason. Like I said, we're taking notes from good franchises, but hopefully our guys can put it together.
Do you think that they can? Last offseason left some question marks. Sadly.
Maybe this was the plan the whole time.
Maybe so.
I think we'll be able to tell a lot more after this season and off season on what we got here. I mean, if they somehow find a way to botch this off season, then I will have lost all faith in Ryan Poles to do anything productive.
Fuck you, Ryan Poles. You're on the hot seat already. But no, let's be honest with ourselves. Hasn't everything that he's done been exactly for this? I mean, so he's slashed all the all the dead contracts. He's traded away all the old guys. Like, yeah, he brought in some questionable talent last year, but the point of last year wasn't to win; it was to develop Justin Fields. Well, I got a C+ job on that, but enough of a job to let us all feel like we got a guy right there. So he also ended up with the number 1 pick. Like, next step, big guy. Trade that number 1 pick for big assets. I know we all want to win, but like, goodness gracious, 3-14 last year, terrible. Like, the team probably wasn't going to do better than 7-9, even with all the assets if you'd have kept them all, or with better signings from the wide receiver position, or with better offensive line drafting. Like, all these things would have only marginally improved the team. So everything he's done. Everything he's done is for this right here, Luke. And so, in my opinion, from that perspective, it's almost like it's been a perfect year. It's almost like it's been a perfect almost 11 months.
I don't know if perfect is the way I would describe it, but I would say definitely fell in the Bears. He heightened the Bears' chances for this to fall in their favor this way, for sure. Now, people might disagree with the the in between and the process of possibly Fields developing bad habits or getting killed behind subpar offensive line play and lack of weapons. But you're right, Joe. It very well could have been part of his plan to say we're going to test this guy, and if he can get through this and show us something, he passes the test. I sure hope that's what they were looking for, something, just not put him out there for absolutely no reason. But this is the result we have now. Number one pick, now $98 million in cap space, down from 120 with all the, I guess, incentives contracts got filled out. So, the Bears cut a fat check to guys like Riley Reif, who hit his playing time bonus. He got like $5 or $6 million for that. And then just a bunch of futures contracts. So the Bears have $98 million going into this offseason.
It's a lot of money, Elberry 40.
And they have to put up 150 in first year cash spending to meet the minimum threshold laid out in the CBA. So,
Chris, what's your take on that little those two sides of that coin?
What's that? How much money they have to spend? And
no, just like if Foles has been. I mean, it's pretty hot takey to say he's been perfect to this point. So, like, that's that. I mean, that may be too far, but like his plan to this point, does it give you confidence?
I'm cautiously optimistic. I mean, it could be that he, tempered his additions in order to make them just bad enough to get rid of as much money as possible to load up for this year. But at the same time, he could have probably added some more talent for less money than he did. But I mean, it's not like he just sat on his hands. I mean, Riley Reif played okay last year. Right. The Claypool trade is going to be a big indicator of how this went this first year, depending on how that goes.
To me, that's my one big wild card. God, that's my one big wild card to me. It's like,
honestly, Chris, I think that's kind of a perfect analogy. I mean, that's like the epitome of this whole thing is like, close your eyes and pray that this works. We're gonna do something we're gonna do something absolutely crazy, and if it pans out, I'll look like a genius, and if not, I'll look like a bumbling idiot. We're going to throw out a second round pick for Chase Claypool. And if he's a 1K receiver next year, we win.
What's the lowest you take on? What's the lowest yardage output you take to call that a win?
800.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, probably so for me. I was going to say 850.
It's not that much to ask in 17 games.
No, yeah, I was going to say 850.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it really depends on what you're asking out of him and depending on what you add this offseason. If you're asking him to be a 1,
you're asking him to be a 2, and you're asking Mooney to be a 2B, and you're finding Jack Smith and Jigba or Jordan Addison. You're finding some help out there. And plus, you've got Travis Kelce already and Cole Kmet, so we're set.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Will you stop that, Joe?
No, I fucking love Cole Kmet. I'm just messing with you. No, I'm just trying to play the character for the fight. I love Cole Kmet. His game is exactly his game is perfect. Chicago Bear tight end, nice and athletic, but not super athletic. He's gonna make some catches. What do we say? 60 catches, 600 yards, 6 touchdowns. Great.
He's athletic enough.
Exactly.
Isn't that the description for like almost any tight end?
Kyle Rudolph is a great comparison. It's a great comparison. Now, if we could get him to be more like Kelce, that'd be a pipe dream. But Kyle Rudolph, pretty damn good.
Well, that's why they're going to take Michael Mayer at number 4.
Perfect.
Great. Awesome.
We should model our offense after the Georgia Bulldog offense.
Oh, we should wait for your boy then. We should wait for your guy to come out.
Oh my
We
God!
should-
If Brock
You
Bowers,
saying we should?
if Brock Bowers and Justin Fields got on the same offense, I would fucking. Oh my God! I would be so high all the time.
Can we pick up Stetson Bennett? Like that's a
No!
stud.
Yeah, if you bail him out, you can have him.
Gotta get him out of jail.
You got to get him out of jail first.
45 years old, doesn't know how to drink in public.
Could you imagine the Bears drafting Stetson Bennett and he'd be older than Fields to back
I
him
will
up?
not. That's the one thing that's the one thing they can do in this draft that will make me turn in my fan card.
Draft Stetson Bennett?
Fuck that. If they draft Stetson Bennett, I'll send you all my Bears gear.
Stetson
man.
Bennett's the next Brock Purdy, dude.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's what
no.
I said. I said that shit in chat weeks ago. Or probably not weeks ago, but the day he got arrested.
But if you can give me fucking Brock Bowers, could we take Brock Bowers with the number 1 overall pick right now?
Like just like reserve him for next year.
Next year's draft is too
Exactly.
loaded for Brock Bowers to be there. Well, while we're speaking of the draft, there's been some interesting draft talk coming out. Kuiper released his first mock draft. McShay, they have a podcast. They were talking. Some really interesting takes. I mean, I'm pretty sure Mel Kuiper had Jackson Smith, Jigba ranked as his number 2 wide receiver. I'm pretty sure, and other people had him like 5 or 6 on the board. So this year's draft, I feel like, is really like there's no consensus at all for anything. Like people are all over the board on these guys, at least from what I've seen so far.
Absolutely.
But in their first mock, I mean, they had the Bears taking Jalen Carter, and they were saying that mostly every mock I've seen with like quote unquote ESPN analysts or whatever have been saying, the Bears are going to try and trade out of that pick, and that's what they should do. So it's actually good to see some kind of consensus on there. I don't really think any of these guys think that, they would possibly take a quarterback over Fields. So I'm glad that's not really a topic of discussion this offseason besides some boneheaded fans.
And Warren Sapp.
Well, it's actually funny that Jalen Carter and Warren Sapp went to the same high school.
Oh, I didn't realize that. But no, Warren Sapp put that out there last week that the Bears were trying to trade Justin Fields to draft Bryce Young at number 1. It's like
Paul Finebaum was a source.
Oh my gosh, Paul Feinbaum,
whatever his name is.
Paul Idiot is what he is. He's an idiot.
No, who was the guy that was the ex-GM for the Jets?
Mike Tannenbaum.
Tannenbaum. I combined them.
Paul Tannenbaum. Mike Feinbaum.
Yeah, that was his source, though.
Well, there's a reason that Mike Tannenbaum is a fired general manager. He gets on the fucking ESPN all the time and pops off all these general manager takes that are so stupid. And every time he does, I'm like, yeah, there's a reason you fucked up the Jets and you fucked up the Dolphins and you're not on like anybody's payroll anymore.
He's on ESPN's payroll. No, but seriously, I mean, after watching these games this weekend, I mean, how can you not want the Bears to go out and get a Daron Payne and then also draft Jalen Carter? Like I am all at this point, I am all in on them getting not 1 but 2 defensive linemen with
give me some beef
high value, high money. I mean, Chris, what do you think about that strategy? Do you think they should spread it out, or do you think they should say F it? We're going to get us Jalen Carter and Hargrave or Payne or one of those guys.
All in. Get that middle.
Do you think they would do that?
Wrecked.
Do you think they would do that? I think they might, considering how much money they tried to pay Ogunjobi.
Yes. They know that pick is his most important position.
But what if you have 2 guys that can play it very well?
I don't know. I think if they sign Payne, Anderson becomes a very strong possibility.
Do you think they would be less inclined to trade back then, though?
No.
Or maybe they would just try and do
Well,
a smaller deal to stay at 2, possibly.
maybe.
I could see that. Like, oh, we got our Duron Payne. Let's go back to 2 and get whatever, a second and a third or whatever, and get Anderson here. I mean, trading back with the Texans is just like a free pick. I mean, they're not going to not trade up for someone else besides a QB. So, but then you're also hindering what you could possibly get by thinking like that.
I mean, I so like they signed Payne, they like Anderson, but they trade back to 4. I wouldn't be heartbroken if I was them and it ended up with Carter and Payne. I mean, I think they're still fine. They're both game wreckers, and they're up the middle. And
that's what I'm saying. If you get 2 guys like that,
Carter's not just a 3-tech. He's a massive human being. He can easily slide to 4 or a 1 or whatever you want to call it. So I wouldn't think that would stop them, but I would think I could see them wanting to have essentially like we had with Hicks and Mac, where you had Mac on the outside and Hicks at the 3-tech.
It is interesting what I've been hearing from. I mean, I know Kuiper and McShay are who they are. They work for ESPN. It's not like these guys are, I mean, they kind of are like the cream of the crop draft experts. But as for their football knowledge, I trust other guys like Dane Brugler more. But Kuiper and McShay are talking about Anderson. They're like, yeah, we don't think this guy is a 15 to 17 sack type guy. We think he's like an 8 to 9 sack type guy. Is that a person you take top 3 overall? I mean, Joe, you cover the Tide. How do you feel about that assessment? They did say, his pressure rate though is just so insane at college that they don't really see him not being a good pro. They just don't think he's like a Bosa level pick where he's going to come in and put up immediate double-digit sacks.
I agree with that. I agree. I think he's going to take a couple of years to develop at the professional level to get to that double-digit sack type, 13, 14, 15 sack type range. Now they're right. His pressure rate is absolutely insane, and he plays good against the run too. So like he's a good fundamental edge player. So he's going to give you. Like part of the reason why I don't really want him for the Bears is I think that our fan base is going to have way too high expectations for him, and he's going to be that developmental piece. But like when you stop fundamentally well, he plays hard all the time. But I think there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve and a little bit of a physicality gap that he's going to have to close. Just put a little muscle on him. Nothing that he can't do, but it might take him about two years before he starts giving you that 13, 14 sack range. But I mean, I like him. I still would rather go with Carter because of the interior pressure. I think interior pressure disrupts offenses so much more. If you get it right up the middle on a quarterback, you get it right up the middle on running plays. And so to your earlier scenario, I would totally go and sign Payne, trade back, and still take Carter. Because you double up in the middle and you add depth to that defensive front. I think that's where you really can begin to turn around this defense. And as we talked about with Raul last week, the defense absolutely, especially up front, needs a lot of help.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to say, I definitely think it's more rare to find really good defensive tackle help like later in the draft.
Sure.
I feel like most of these guys that are studs are drafted normally pretty high. I mean, taking D tackle, top 5, I think is pretty risky because I feel like, a lot of these guys don't pan out to what you think they'll be because you think they're just going to absolutely dominate. But, I mean, I would say most of the really good D tackles in the league were drafted fairly high. So it'll be interesting. I mean, what Chris brought up earlier is going to be, are they going to try and spread out their assets? Or are they just going to say, we're just going to take the best player and we're just going to make this D-line incredible right away and then go from there.
I think that's a great way to be. I mean, you look at the Commanders and you look at the Commanders, and they're like a perennial edge fringe playoff team with really suspect quarterback play because their defensive front is so dang nasty.
Yeah. Chris, what are you pondering over there?
He's sick. He's out of gas.
You're not wrong.
Chris, we love you, man.
Yeah. I this is gonna be such a long off season. Like, I mean, I can't believe like football is pretty much coming to a close in a couple weeks. And then we got like a month and a half of nothing.
Combine.
Senior Bowl this Saturday.
Yeah, that's true. Combine, Senior Bowl. I don't go to those things. I don't watch those things. I don't know who these kids are. So
Senior Bowl will be cool.
I'll wait for
We're gonna have a Senior Bowl guest here soon in a few weeks.
All right, Joe, are you gonna go to the Senior Bowl? Represent for the squad?
I am not. I'm gonna be calling on some of my friends who are gonna be down there. We can Luke, we can talk about more Senior Bowl guests if you like.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome. How far away are you from Mobile?
Mobile is 5 hours away. Right, 4 to 5 hours away.
It's a decent hike.
Yeah, not terrible.
Can anyone just go to that? You need to be credentialed, right?
You got to apply for credentials, but they're not incredibly difficult to get.
Yeah, but everybody goes to that bar afterwards, that dive bar. So I think you could just show up there and be fine.
Well, yeah, you meet a lot of people there. That it's a huge meet and greet place.
I would just go there to take someone's credentials.
Like get them drunk and just take their credentials.
Yeah, and show up the next day to practice.
You gotta find
I would
somebody
show up and take
like a brick wall.
I would take Luke Getsy's credentials. Coach
Start calling offensive plays.
Spider 2i banana.
But which one of you offensive linemen want to block for Justin Fields?
Yeah, do you think that's what he's saying down there?
No. I mean, hopefully it is.
He's probably coaching Will Levis right now. Oh, Levis isn't going to that. Never mind.
Fuck Will Levis. He's going to suck in the league.
I feel like anytime Joe gets all puffy about somebody, they're like way better than they're supposed to. Than Joe Lid's on.
Who's the last one?
Pickens.
No, Pickens. I told you about the character issues.
Remember how high you were on Will Anderson? Like
that's probably and then the other one for me is Najee. He was so like Najee is the Jesus, and Najee was terrible this year.
He was
were
great
high
this year.
You were high on Bryce Young too. You were very high on Bryce Young.
That's true.
I'm still high on Bryce.
I don't know, man. You do waver a lot on these Bama guys. Like the year before they come out, they are the Jesus, and then as soon as they're out, you're like, they're all right.
No, Najee is still the GOAT. Najee had a great year. That Steelers offensive line was dog shit. Without Najee, oh my gosh, that team almost made the playoffs.
So you're nervous
because of George Pickens, dude, Kenny Pickett.
So Joe is nervous for Will Anderson because he doesn't want Bears fans to be too harsh on him.
They're assholes. Why didn't he get 3 sacks in the first week? Waste of a pick.
Well, you're gonna have to take the heat there, my friend. That's your boy.
You're right. You're
linked with him, and just because you said that, we're gonna draft him now. He's gonna be a DN too.
I'm 90% sure there's a podcast last year where Joe said tank for Will Anderson.
There probably was, and if we take him,
he was.
Here's what I'll promise you here, right here and now. You can think about it over the next 12 weeks or whatever. If we draft Will Anderson, I will purchase a Will Anderson jersey, and I will purchase each one of you a Will Anderson jersey of your choice. But he must be drafted by our Chicago Bears.
All right, that's a deal.
Absolutely,
that's a deal. I mean, I don't.
I mean, but I mean, that I'm telling you, like, that's me trying to put on that I would be happy if we drafted him. Like, I'm also would be nervous. I would also be anxious. There would be some pretension. There would be some apprehension.
I'm almost positive you compared him to Bruce Smith.
I mean,
Joe
his
put out some
sophomore year,
crazy proclamations last year.
His sophomore year was incredible. Well, he was getting compared to Derek Thomas here at Alabama.
That's more in line than Bruce Smith. Like Bruce Smith is like he's a tank, dude.
Derek Thomas would have been if he hadn't died early.
Yeah, but Derek Thomas is more of like an outside linebacker, that long, lanky bend guy. Bruce Smith will run your ass over. Yeah, he can dip a little bit, but man,
no,
he's like Reggie White.
A lot of his comparisons are to Derek Thomas, and
yeah,
I think that he'd be a great player in the pros. I just want the best for him. I just want the best for him.
Derek Thomas is one of my favorite players ever.
If the Bears draft him at 1, 3, 4, whatever the case may be, and he doesn't have 10 sacks in his rookie year, people are going to be, oh, he's a bust, and like, no, he's not. Give him some time. Be patient.
Yeah, but see, like, that's the thing is, like, Carter, it wouldn't matter if Carter had 10 sacks his first year. He's just going to clog that middle.
Right.
He might have 5 sacks just being a beast, and people will be happy with that.
I agree.
For all the people that, quote unquote, complain about his motor or whatever, I feel like Eberflus is definitely the guy I would want coaching him to get the most out of him more often, if that's the main issue.
Okay.
I don't really got anything else. I mean, we got our Panthers host. We had our Panthers interview. That went well, and I'm all good for the night. How about you guys?
Yeah, it was great. I know Chris is feeling down. We can't. Chris, we hope you have a good, strong week. Next week we'll do Super Bowl predictions. You guys stick around. We're gonna be joined by Desmond Johnson of the Bleav in Panthers podcast. He joined us to talk about the Panthers possibly trading from number 9 up or down and what they might be doing. So stick around to hear that interview with Desmond Johnson. Luke, thank you so much for setting that up tonight, and thanks for everything you both do for the podcast. Chris, playing hurt. Next week you'll be 100%.
God willing. Let's
Absolutely. Go. Down, Chicago Bears, make every play, clear the way to victory. Bear down, Chicago Bears, put up a fight with the might so fearlessly. You'll never forget the way we filled the nation with your T formation. Bear down, Chicago Bears, and don't forget why you're wearing the crown. You're the pride and joy of Illinois, Chicago Bears. Bear down.